So, good morning, Rotarians. Thank you for joining us. This club meeting is called to order. Shortly, I'll be sharing my screen and leading us through another fun presentation to direct the conversation. Periodically, I'll bring the screen share down so we can see each other's beautiful and friendly faces and have more dialogue. And feel free to speak out like you would in an in-person meeting. But if you're not using your microphone, be sure to put yourself on mute, or maybe I'll do it for the cost of a club fine. Okay. So welcome to the Fortuna Sunrise Rotary Club meeting for November 18th, 2020. It's volume 20 of my presidential year. We have an amazing Rotary Club and I'm so thankful to be a part of it. This time I'll bring down the screen sharing and we'll do some introductions of guests. This morning we have our program and let's see, past district governor, a PolioPlus Chair, and so much more, Bob Rogers. So give it up for Bob. Yeah, and let's see, I'm doing a quick scan to see if we have any other guests. So just the rest of our club, fantastic club members here. So let's keep this show moving, shall we? So at this time, we'd typically be doing a flag salute, but you know, since we've been doing our meetings virtually, I've been doing a little history fact for the day. Did you know today, in 1928, Mickey Mouse appears for the first time in Steamboat Willie. It was a successful sound synchronized animation cartoon film that was produced by someone you might have heard of, Walt Disney, and premiered at the Colony Theater in New York City. Awesome. And our inspirational message this morning will go to Ross Raleigh. Ross. Oh, you got to unmute, buddy.
Were you going to bring that picture up on the screen, or do I have to memorize it?
Oh, I sorry.
Was that me? I was supposed to do that? I'll try to wing it.
Yeah, wing it the best you can. Sorry.
Quoting Frank Zappa, who's one of the 20th century's most underrated, possibly controversial, and considered in Europe one of the greatest symphonic composers. We didn't know that. Frank Zappa had a really wonderful quote that said, "Your mind is like a parachute. It doesn't work unless it's open."
Yeah, love it. Love it.
Oh, that's heavy.
That's heavy, man. Cool. All right. And we'll go to, how about Keith Borges for the four-way test this morning. Keith?
Yeah, thank you, Simon. Good morning. The four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Yeah. All right. Well done. Well done. Thank you, Keith. Okay, we'll keep this show moving here. Let's see. So announcements coming up. November 13th and 14th, 2020 is the annual International Fair. Wait, we're past. Goodness, what? This is outdated events. What is going on? Well, skip that. It already happened. But we do have an update on See's Candy, and that is that we are not going to be opening up our in-person store this year. The logistics are just a little too rough to make it happen, but there are some opportunities for service in that area, and we really just need to suss out if anybody is willing to step up into a couple leadership positions and take on a couple of aspects of that. So there's some great opportunities to serve if you're interested. I'll be sending out a form with maybe a couple of potential roles that people can maybe sign up for and serve. And if you're interested in that, we will move forward with it. And if we don't get enough people signing up for it, we'll probably do something very much subdued, if not anything at all. So if anybody is willing to help, like I said, be checking your email. There'll be a form going out with some opportunities to serve. Backpacks for Kids. It is our partnership with Food for People. And today we have Steve Garrison and two Debbies working on that. And then not next week, but December 2nd, we have Shirley, Penny, and Sharon staffing the Backpacks for Kids, where we stuff those paper bags with food for low-income families that just don't have enough food to make it through the weekends. It's a really great partnership we have with Food for People. And speaking of that, Food for People sent us not one, but 2 thank you cards in the last month. Ann Holcomb. And really, I've got it up on the screen so you can read it here. I won't read it word for word, but really just thanking our club for the amazing work that we do on this. And if you're having a hard time seeing it, quick trick is you can click on the little screen that has it, the 3 little dots, and click pin to screen, and that'll make it really big if you're having some issues there. But it should be quite large. Anyway, they were thanking us, really tough times for them. There's been more and more people that are needing food right now, and our partnership is really helping them out. Move to the next card, because it does have this really sweet note at the end from Ann. She let us know that her dad was a Rotarian for 60 years. So how outstanding is that? So what a cool partnership that we work with somebody who's been touched and affected by Rotary, and we can go out and help people in a safe way. Just outstanding. Cool. And at this time, we're going to pass it over to our guest find master this morning, Sal Chinnici. And at your word, Sal, I can pull up the ammunition that you need.
Why don't we go with that flag raising picture for a moment here? And there's good news and bad news this morning. Bad news first, I'm your fine master. I'm going to keep this brief. So while we look at this beautiful picture down on Main Street, Veterans Day, Keith with a flag, first thing I'm going to do is fine everyone who failed to mute themselves when the president asked. All these people will receive a $5 fine. I currently have Rick, Don, Herb, Steve, and Dennis. I'm going to give George a pass since he
Okay.
had for a while.
Hey, Sal, in order to document
and Ross
that.
too.
Oh,
what's that, Ross?
Could you document again who that was? I can't type that fast. It was Rick.
We got Rick, Don, Herb, Steve, although it says Diane on his screen, so
That should be an extra 5.
that should be a double fine. But Dennis Scott, we're giving George a pass this morning.
Okay.
Now-
Sal, I just want to point out that as the Sergeant of Arms, it was my duty to tell President Simon that it was time to start the meeting. So I think I should get a pass on that.
Well, okay, thank you for that, Don. We'll let the president and Ross decide that. I can't speak to that, but Sergeant at Arms, sure.
Say, Sal, why was it we got fined? I'm just wanting to know where my money's going.
Gosh, too many questions. I'm trying to keep it short, but it was because I wrote down all the people who weren't muted when the president said you need to mute yourself. I kept track of it. What's that, Herb?
How do you mute?
That's the problem. But for $5, we will let you know how to mute yourself.
Thanks.
Let me go to Keith now. When you look at this great picture that Simon took last week, what do you see that's wrong with this picture, though? Although it's a beautiful picture, American flag, what's wrong with this picture, Keith?
What's wrong with it besides that I'm in it, you mean? Besides
Yes.
that? Well, I had my little yellow vest was kind of all mungled up. Is that what you're talking about?
Your vest is inside out. So that's
that vest wasn't inside out. It was like, it's a weird, John Sapper can attest to this. He tried to put it on that night, and it was an interesting piece of attire, but I will gladly pay for my poor display of clothing.
Well, yeah, you didn't bring up. I thought you would bring up that it was dark when we donned our vests,
Well,
but
that's the excuse I usually use when I come to work in mismatched clothes. So I should have drugged that one out.
yes, Greg, you have a comment on this?
Does anybody notice the tip of his nose and how it's sort of hanging out of the mask?
Oh, I wasn't gonna,
Oh, yeah, you know, I don't know. It was cold. It was cold that morning and it kept sliding off. I don't know.
I think we'll have to go with $10.
Okay, you're right. You got me. All right.
And I have one last fine, I think, here, unless people keep talking, then there's gonna be more fines. So if we could go to Chris Broadstock and have him explain this, what I see is $60 each.
Wow.
That's a lot of,
Yeah, good morning. This was the Beat the Pro golf tournament last Saturday. Sal, you didn't post your guys' score up there. I think it was much further down the list. But me and the cousins put together a team and we won the whole thing.
yeah. So while many Rotarians were out, doing good, maybe cooking breakfast for their family or attending some event, you were playing in this golf tournament, and looks like you guys did quite well. So I think that's a $10 fine, Chris.
You know, we shot 13 under, so we'll round it up to 15.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And thanks for everybody for being good sports. And that's all I've got, President.
Thank you so much, guest fine master, Sal Chinnici. Well done. Well done. That's maybe some future presidential material there. I don't know. Oh, and looks like, let's see. Looks like we have a guest who's also joined. Diana Rios from the Noon Club, Fortuna Noon Club has joined us too. So hello, Diana. Oh, what an awesome group we have. Thank you so much for everybody coming out. Is there any guest announcements, club member announcements, brags, guilty consciences before we move on to the next phase of this meeting? Oh, I see a hand up. Bob Judavon.
Hey, Simon, can you hear me okay with the background noise?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So I just wanted to take a minute to let the club know. So there's a family that's donated to our backpacks program the last couple of years. It's the Patel family, and they own the Super 8 and the Comfort Inn here in Fortuna and a couple of hotels over in Arcata, and then a few more out of the area. And there's two brothers, Jagdish and Shamin. They go by Jay and CJ. And they have a son named Pritesh who sort of does the front work for the family. And they're very nice folks. They're sort of focused on their hotels, focused on their families. But for years they've gone in, they like to buy up at the end of the year, like unpaid school lunch invoices in the local elementary schools. And when Pritesh heard about our backpack program last year, he really wanted to participate. So he matched our club donation of $4,000, the family did. And when this year rolled around with COVID, we didn't want to ask, right? But they stroked a check anyway. So they gave us $3,000 and gave the Arcata Rotary another $3,000 because they have hotels over there as well. So they actually upped their giving, and I just thought it was amazing, and it's allowed us to in turn help food for people that much more. So I just wanted to sort of introduce you guys to these folks. They've been awfully generous and in a very quiet, sort of awesome Rotarian way. Back to you, Simon.
Thank you, Bob. That's fantastic news. It's so awesome to see our community just, just give so much, even in the most challenging times. So how touching. Anybody else? Okay. I'm not seeing any hands raised there. So I think I'll pass it over to our program chair, Erin Dunn, to introduce the program this morning.
Good morning. Thank you, President Simon. It's, we continue with Rotary's Foundation Month in the month of November. And wanted to bring our district polio chair and past district governor, Bob Rogers, to speak with us today. And he does such a fantastic job. He's also been recruited by our zones to also head up the polio information and fundraising efforts. He also, because of his efforts and speaking to clubs, has allowed our district to be one of the top fundraising for polio in the 2 zones. It's been an incredible gift that he has to share the word about polio. And I'm going to let him tell you more about everything that's happening with polio. Our past district governor, Bob Rogers.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you for that. Before we go too far, Simon, can I? Oh, you did it for me. Very good, sir. Thank you. Share the screen routine. So thanks for inviting me to talk to you about polio. But before I do, I have a video of a recent NID, National Immunization Day, that I went to India with on this last January. And you know, we as Rotarians, we see the advocate and fundraising side of this battle. Well, I hope that this video is going to show you the frontline worker side of the battle. This trip was organized by our own past international director, Brad Howard, of Howard Tours, and he's conducted over 40 of these NID trips for Rotarians. So here we go. Can you guys see that okay? And can you hear it okay?
Yes.
There you go. Sorry.
Thank you.
My name is Brad Howard. I professionally am both a tour operator. We take people overseas for purpose, professional groups and associations, and I also have commercial real estate here in the East Bay. In Rotary, I have been involved with it for about 35 years and have been a governor, which is a regional responsibility, and then been a member of the board of directors of Rotary International, the international board. So polio was a disease that was a huge issue in the early 1950s. Towards the end of the 1950s, early 1960s, they found a vaccine. Well, about that time, Rotary, by accident, decided that it was a very localized effort in the Philippines, that they could, if they had enough money, could buy enough vaccines to immunize all their kids. Well, they did it. And so Rotary as an organization said, wow, if all we need to do is get vaccines to kids, we could do that. And so since that time, we have been knocking off all these countries. 125 countries had polio when we started. Right now it's down to 2, Pakistan and Afghanistan. But because Pakistan and Afghanistan have very limited healthcare systems and border controls, it isn't limited to those countries. People are traveling across borders between those 2 countries, and Pakistan's a neighbor with India. When we immunize a child during these national immunization days, we are trying to immunize every single child in that country that are 5 years and younger. And this is what we did on this recent trip. Over a 5-day period, they're trying to immunize more than 100 million children.
Okay, who's next? Oh, no. Are you laughing at me? Are you laughing at me?
The way to think so.
हाथ मिला रहा
तू उधर हाथ बढ़ा, तू
Oh, yeah. Oh, I don't think
Whenever you walk through these villages, there's a whole pack of kids that are following you. And some of them are in areas that basically they're dumps. I mean, literally are a dump. You're watching kids play with bicycle wheels that are broken. The thing that always strikes me is how happy they are. And it's those smiles and it's those interactions with those people, the people in need, that really, I think, drive emotion for a lot of people when they're in this environment, to say, I got to help them do something. And I think that's where Rotary's job becomes most important. The community in which we were in was called Mewat. And Mewat is a largely Muslim populated place, but very impoverished. In fact, the largest industry, if you will, is making fuel for fires so that they can cook and heat their house. And that fuel is quite literally made out of cow patties.
This is the kitchen.
This is the kitchen?
I was just told that. Yeah, that's where they build the fire, they cook over the fire, and this is the kitchen right here. The man just told me, the driver just told me.
There's what's called the caste system, and so there's this whole spectrum of haves and have-nots. There are those that are called the untouchables, and in society they really don't have a place. One of the parts of the polio eradication effort is one day you go from door to door looking for kids in each house to know that everyone's been immunized.
ये चले जाएंगे
स्कूल गए बता अरे छोड़ भाई अरे छोटे छोटे से स्कूल भगा दिए क्या तो सो रहा है लेना आ फिर ले लास्ट सो रहे हैं बेबी डाउन ये बेबी
Here we go, here we go.
Shoot, I missed it.
The ability to see what happens with polio comes in two parts. One, the emotion of, I'm going to stop this from happening to another kid. But the second part is helping those that didn't have the 2 drops and those people who now cannot walk. Well, there is a hospital in Delhi that many years ago, some of the Rotarians in the Bay Area came together and in concert and partnership with Rotarians in Delhi, helped fund a post-polio ward. A gentleman by the name of Dr. Matthews is the key surgeon that literally performs miracles on these people. These are people whose feet are sideways. They can only crawl on their hands and knees, and yet he's able to turn those lives into an upright life. There's a place in Jaipur called the Jaipur Foot Factory that is supported in part by Rotary and in part by others. that quite literally takes the PVC pipes that we all know that go in the ground, that carry sewage and water, and is able to turn them into a limb that can be put on a leg so that people quite literally can walk in day 1 and on day 2 be walking with a new prosthetic limb.
But if it falls, you should not fall on the mud. Round and round, all through the town. The people on the bus go up and down, up and down, up and down. The people on the bus go up and down, all through the town. The horn on the bus go beep, beep. Can I take your mic?
Your name is? Kushi.
Hello. May I can identify as you wish. Bring more people over here so you can see it. Then I can open the shop.
So this Rotary Club has been dedicated to help elevate the resources and training of the teachers. And to give you a picture of the school, they've built a great building, small. There's 2 parts. One is for young children, and the other one is a vocational training school for the women of the village to learn how to sew and therefore be productive for themselves. But this school is quite literally in the middle of a pigsty, and no one wants to walk anywhere near where the pigs are hanging out. You can imagine if you're in a village that's called a slum, the effect of having 50 people from another country come into your presence, bring you stuff and resources, and buy your goods, how that inspires them that they are better than what they have.
1, 2, 3, 4 हमारा नंबर है.
I really didn't know what to expect coming to India. My wife and I, are both Rotarians, and we came knowing that we were coming for a good cause. And we have definitely fulfilled our mission in that, and seeing lives changed, putting 2 drops of polio vaccination into a small child's mouth, knowing that that child will not suffer the consequences of a debilitating, deathly sickness called polio.
When I first did this trip, or contemplated doing it, I thought to myself, you know, is this really just a self-satisfying thing about going over here? Wouldn't that money that I spent on this coming over here be better spent if I were to donate it to the PolioPlus campaign? And the Rotarians here in another way, they said that our coming here is inspiring to them, that we would do that.
I think every Rotarian should have an opportunity to give a child 2 magic drops, and to see the great work that's being done in this country to help not only prevent polio, but to help those that are still suffering from the effects. It's just, it would be very worthwhile to participate in.
Probably the most inspirational trip I've ever gone on, and I've traveled quite a bit. But this trip, you can't compare it to other trips, because you know you're doing something good, but at the same time, you're showing, you know, this is America, you're a foreigner, but we're all the same. We all have that feeling of we want to help each other.
I think that you can see a lot of really wonderful, lovely things amongst the dirty air and the dirty living conditions. And I spent a lot of time with kids and trying to communicate through language barriers. And there's love there. It's lovely.
Coming to India has just been an absolute blessing to see the amount of work that goes into this national inoculation day. The entire country inoculates their children. It's amazing.
It's encouraging that even though we don't speak the language down here, everybody's been warm to us, receptive. So, you know, it gives me encouragement when I go home that, you know, we can use this as a model so that we're not divided. We can unite around a common purpose, which is to take care of people.
Well, when we started our effort, there were 350,000 new cases annually of polio. This past year, there was about 140 cases, and that's significant. But the real difference is, why are we here on Earth? What is our legacy? And watching people take these trips, I think, helps to define that. You can't help but feel, for just random luck, I was born there and got all this good stuff, or that I could have been born here and been needing other people's help. And when you have a chance to see it and believe that you can do something about it, it makes a huge difference. So what's the future of polio? It'll be gone. What will happen next? Well, that's up to the Rotarians, and it will be up to them to decide where their passion is, where their future is, and how they can, through the effort of making friends with others, create lasting change across the globe, in their community, and in themselves.
So, you know, I've probably watched this video, I don't know, maybe 30 times. And I still get emotional reliving the experience. You know, as you can see from this video, the polio virus afflicts mostly children, attacking the motor neurons that control the muscles in the body, so that if the leg muscles are attacked, the child can't walk. And if the diaphragm muscles are attacked, they can't breathe on their own without the use of a machine like an iron lung. And if there's no access to a machine like that because of poor health infrastructure, like in developing countries, the child dies. Yet there's others like myself. I had a brief encounter with the virus and I escaped relatively unscathed. So when I was 5, my dad took the family to a Lions Club picnic. And midway through the picnic, they told me they found me sitting under a picnic table crying, complaining that my legs were hurting. So they took me home, put me to bed. And the next morning when I couldn't get out of bed, Mom called the doctor. She came and examined me. And after she examined me, my parents and the doctor left my room, went into the living room, and I could hear this soft conversation. Then all of a sudden, my mom lets out this huge wail. And then she starts sobbing. I didn't know what was going on, except that I was scared to death. So they packed me up and put me in a car and took me to Children's Hospital in San Francisco, which is where we were living at the time. I don't remember much of my stay, being only 5, but a few things did stick in my mind. They had me in a crib next to a window, and I was up like on the 3rd floor, and Mom would park the car down below my window so I could wave to my brother and sister, because they wouldn't let them come up because they knew it afflicted children, but they didn't know how it was contracted at the time. They treated me with a therapy that they called Sister Kinney hot packs. That's where they wrapped my legs with steaming hot, wet woolen blankets, as hot as I could stand. And then they would passively exercise my leg to the max range of motion. So I was in the hospital for about 2 weeks. And on checkout day, Mom's wheeling me to the car in a wheelchair. And the 5-year-old in me defiantly says, "I don't need a wheelchair, I can walk to the car myself." Mom reluctantly agrees to let me try. So I try to stand, and as soon as I let go of the armrests, I fall to the sidewalk like a sack of potatoes. And I remember my mom again bursting into tears, and I'll never forget that as long as I live. But you know, as time went on and I got older, my brush with the poliovirus sort of faded into the background. Not something that I thought of much, except when filling out forms that required my medical history, things like that. It was over, it was in my past. I was a runner and a skier, a cyclist most of my adult life, and never felt restricted or handicapped in any way. Okay, so let's fast forward a few years to after my retiring. My wife Peggy and I, we moved to Sebastopol, California, where one of my new neighbors starts inviting me to his Rotary Club meetings. At first I resist, you know, this idea of weekly obligations, but he kept asking and he kept asking. Finally I relented. And you know, so I went to a meeting and I found myself liking it, and it's camaraderie. And before I knew it, I'm being given Rotary information by a couple of past presidents telling me about my obligations as to financial and attendance, among other things. And then near the end of their presentation, almost as an afterthought, one of them says, and you know, we're eliminating polio in the world. I said, what are you talking about? It's gone. He said, yeah, here in the US, but not in the rest of the world. I couldn't believe that I didn't know that. I, who had polio, was not aware of this. So that was sort of the icing on the cake, and any resistance I had about joining sort of faded into the background at that point, and I joined the club. But I have to admit, as concerns the club, there wasn't any special emphasis on polio those first couple months, and I soon forgot about it again. So then later in a year, I'm attending my first district training assembly, and up in Ukiah, or for you guys down in Ukiah, and I'm walking down a path between two buildings, and all of a sudden a voice behind me says, so how old were you when you had polio? What? I said, I'm swinging around. How do you know I had polio? He says, I could tell by the way you're walking and swinging your leg. What's he talking about? I thought I walked normal. But I couldn't deny his observation, could I? Because I did. He introduced himself as Larry Myers, our district's PolioPlus Chair, and himself a polio survivor. But we talked a little bit and then parted ways, going to different breakout sessions. But I saw him at the end of the day, and he says, hey, why don't you join my PolioPlus committee? I said, sure, okay. Not knowing what that meant. Well, I found out a few months later when he called and asked me if I would fill in for him on a fundraiser talk that he had a conflict, scheduling conflict with. So I said, yeah. And I started doing research as preparation for the talk. And that's when I really realized the scope of the fight against this disease. So, you know, I gave the talk and I was nervous, but it went pretty well. But you know what? That was it. I was hooked. I'd found my passion in Rotary. I became active in everything related to PolioPlus, from giving talks like I'm doing now to doing that 6-day bike ride fundraiser we did a few years ago. Incidentally, it was Ross Rowley who had the idea. Thanks a lot, Ross. No, seriously, thank you. It turned out great. We had a lot of fun and we raised a lot of money. You know, reflecting back on my life, having contracted polio at the age of 5, recovering completely, and then forgetting about it, only to then accidentally rediscover it by joining Rotary many years later. It makes me think, you know, some things in life happen that are beyond our comprehension. And I think that this is one of those times, my being here for this final fight against polio. You all know the tremendous progress we made since we started this battle in 1988. Like Brad said, there were 350,000 children a year, almost 1,000 a day, that contracted polio in 125 countries. 2018, we had that number down to 33. From 350,000 to 33. Pretty amazing. However, I have to admit, last year was admittedly disappointing because those cases went from 33 to 176 last year. And as of yesterday, we have 133 cases this year. One little piece of good news is that this is the 3rd week in a row that no new cases have been reported in Afghanistan, and only 1 in Pakistan the week before last. I'll take these little victories wherever I can get them. But clearly there's a huge concern about this increase in numbers. So what happened? You know, some of it is due to the lack of access in certain areas because of conflict. And although the governments of the majority of religious leaders in Pakistan and Afghanistan are supporting us, there are still some anti-vaxxer factions out there trying to oppose us. Some still thinking that Westerners are trying to sterilize their children with these drops. And in addition, the Taliban in Afghanistan forbid any vaccinations taking place at all in areas they control. And then this year, COVID-19 strikes, and we're forced to pause immunizations on March 23rd. So, you know, we've hit huge roadblocks before, and while they are very demoralizing, we've reacted accordingly and overcome these. And we will again in this situation. You know, like the roadblock that both Rotarians and health professionals alike thought would be the hardest to overcome, the elimination of the wild polio virus in India, with its 1.3 billion population, many of them living in slums in close quarters with each other. But we did it for the last case occurring in January 2011. And then the next largest hurdle was the African continent. And after years of exhaustive work and persistence in the 47 countries that make up the region, in August of 2016, we were within 2 weeks of the required 3 years without a single case in order to declare Africa polio-free. And 4 cases show up in Nigeria. Talk about demoralizing. But we reacted with a strategic plan and a massive vaccination campaign. And as a result, there have been no new cases since then. And 2.5 months ago, on August 25th, the World Health Organization officially certified the African region free of the wild polio virus. Yes! Okay, yeah, right. And now we have one more summit to reach, and perhaps the most difficult one of all, due to the political and religious strife, as well as geographic challenges. And that is the combined countries of Afghanistan and Pakistan before we can declare the world free of the wild polio virus. And now some good news, immunizations have started up again in both Pakistan and Afghanistan, as well as other nations in the African region particularly. Of course, under strict COVID-19 prevention guidelines. And let me give you an example of how they're performing. On September 21st, Pakistan conducted a 3-day NID, actually days, with 270,000 polio workers going door to door, and they vaccinated an estimated 39 million children. You know, with performance like that, we will win. But the truth is, we've got at the very least 3 more years to go, and most likely more before we can claim victory over the polio virus. And you know, this has led some folks to ask, after 35 years, why should we continue to support PolioPlus? Isn't 99.9% good enough? Can't we go after another disease or parasite? Well, I have an answer for them. No, because we haven't finished the job yet. Yeah, it's true that this has taken much longer than anyone ever anticipated. But if we quit now, all of that work will be for naught. You know, so while the frontline workers continue to do their important jobs, our job is to continue to be the advocates, to keep the awareness up and continue to raise funds to continue this fight. For the alternative is unthinkable, to have come this far and created this unique opportunity to eliminate this disease from the face of the earth, and then quit and let it reinfect the world. I don't even want to think about it. It's just not an option. You know, we've already saved an estimated 19 million children from paralysis and another 1.5 million from death. So we've already made a huge difference, and we have to continue when we're this close to winning. The problem is not science, is it? We've proven that it can be done. The problem is political and social, and we can overcome those with perseverance and tenacity. And believe me, Rotarians have lots of both those qualities, don't we? You know, it's estimated that if we stop vaccinating now, in a decade, there will be over 200,000 new cases of polio every year. Because if we have seen with COVID-19 this year and last year with measles, polio is only a plane ride away. Fighting polio is expensive. This year's budget is $961 million to inoculate 400 million children. And as I mentioned earlier, we have to continue to raise funds to vaccinate newborns and children missed in prior campaigns for at least another 3 years before we can say it's polio-free, the world. And towards that end, I have some great news for you folks. We have just launched a new society called the PolioPlus Society. You're probably familiar with the Rotary's Paul Harris Society, where you can become a member by committing to donate at least $1,000 a year to the Rotary's the Rotary Foundation's annual fund, or PolioPlus. The PolioPlus Society is similar, except you can become a member for a donation of only $100 or more if you want, and your commitment to continue to donate at least $100 a year until the World Health Organization declares the world polio free. Of course, the Gates Foundation will match your donation 2 to 1, and you will receive Paul Harris recognition points. But as they say on TV, but wait, there's more. If you donate by November 30th, the last day of the foundation month, we will double your Paul Harris recognition points. You will receive a special society pin. Let's see, I'm sorry, I should have pulled this up earlier. You can see a child receiving a Too Precious drop. You will receive a cool End Polio Now wristband like I'm wearing, and you can wear that until we have eliminated polio from the face of the earth. And you will get a certificate proclaiming you a member of the PolioPlus Society. And you will also know that you are doing your part in making a difference. So I have programmed in 14 minutes, you will receive a flyer like this in your email box. This is what we call a commitment letter, where you commit to donating to at least $100 a year to PolioPlus, and you become a member of the PolioPlus Society. And you continue to do that until polio is eradicated, as certified by the World Health Organization. You know, as Rotarians, oh, let me say one other thing. I have an easy way on here. I don't think I have it listed here, but it's what I call the painless way to donate. I call it PolioPlus Direct. What you do is you make a recurring donation with your credit card for only $10 per month, and you can qualify for the PolioPlus Society, and you'll get the full 120, in this case, extra recognition points. Now, I don't know about you, but I hardly notice $10 on my credit card. And I know that we all spend that at least on breakfast, don't we? Of course, there's other ways to donate, other different recurring monthly or quarterly or semi-annually, or you can do it the old-fashioned way and give Ross a check made out to the Rotary Foundation with PolioPlus in the memo section. You know, as Rotarians, a lot of our work is focused on our youth, and the following generations, on the future inhabitants of our planet. And I can think of no other work that we do for the next generations, the pay it forward, if you will, that is more important than our work on eliminating polio from the face of the earth. Although we as Rotarians will most likely not directly benefit from what we do, the future inhabitants and their children, and all the future inhabitants of our planet will benefit. And I can think of no other work that we do, the pay it forward, that is more important than that, eliminating polio from the face of the earth. That, my friend, is paying it forward. That is service above self. That, as past President Ian Risley said, is making a difference. So I want to thank you so much for this opportunity to update you on our fight against this disease. I hope I've convinced you of the importance of continuing this battle. So no longer will a mother have to go through that moment my mom went through, that moment when they're told their child has polio. Thank you, and namaste. And I'm happy to take questions unless we're out of time. But I'm happy to stick around.
Thank you so much, Bob, for that presentation. That was touching.
Thank you.
Very much. Love seeing those videos. You know, just a testimony to the great work that Rotarians are doing abroad. Yeah. Any questions for Bob? You did an awesome job explaining it very, very clearly. Lots of great visuals. Thank you so much, Bob. We really appreciate it. How about that drawing that we normally do at the end of a meeting?
60 whole dollars. We started over a couple of weeks ago, so we're at $60.
If you remember correctly, we had a big kitty last time, and Mr. Walt Giacomini donated that to a disaster relief fund. So who's going to be the winner this morning? Let's see here. Oh, Don Jewett. What? It could be you, my friend.
Somehow I had a feeling.
You had a
feeling. It's going to be me.
Right here. Here it goes. What will the ball be? Let's see. How about, oh, Craft Talk or $25 fine. That's your favorite one, isn't it?
Craft Talk.
or
You
25.
mean I get to talk to my fellow Rotarians for like an uninterrupted 3 minutes?
Well, you know what?
Do it.
we could do that, or I don't know, maybe.
I think a number of your Rotarian friends will pay the 25.
I'm leaving this meeting.
How about this? How about we get a show of hands? If we can have more than 5 Rotarians pledge $5, then Don doesn't have to do it.
I'll pay the $25. I don't want to take money.
Don, you blew it. You could have had a challenge if you paid 25 and asked for another 25 from the club.
It is very gratifying to know how many friends I have in Rotary. I will say that. Yeah.
I think we should come up with an excuse to have you talk to the club. or not. I don't know. We'll see. All right. So yeah, be looking for an email from me and also an email from Bob. It sounds like we're going to get one from him as well. And anybody else have anything they'd like to bring before the club before we partner ways on this Wednesday morning?
I have just one more for Bob Rogers. So Bob, you're saying that as we do our annual giving, if we were to just, and a lot of us do annual giving easily of $100 per year, if we were to just make that designation to PolioPlus, that immediately gets us into the new designation? Or is that, it's as easy as that?
Yeah, and you have to commit, just fill out that form, committing yourself really, but send me a copy of it.
Okay, there you go, just for documentation.
Yeah, for that you'll donate $100 a year until polio is gone.
That's very interesting. Okay, good to know.
Thanks, Ross.
Love it.
So Ross, this is not instead of the $100 per club every Rotarian every year. This is in addition to.
No, not necessarily, right, Bob? It's just a designation.
You're right, but Heck's also right. We're trying to raise additional. We don't want to rob Peter to pay Paul, especially during this time of the pandemic, because the annual fund is struggling, as I think you guys may have heard. So don't rob them, but just dig a little deeper into that $10 a month.
Yeah, $10 is less than a Netflix subscription, so
Yes.
totally doable. And think about the ripple effect that it'll do to the world. It's really amazing. All right, anybody else before we part? Thank you so much, Bob. We really appreciate having you here.
Thank you for the honor.
Very educational. And thanks so much, club members, for coming out, and all of our guests. Have a marvelous Rotary Day. This club meeting's adjourned.
See you guys.
Bye, everybody. Thanks, Simon.
Thanks, Bob, for making the drive up to Fortuna.
Oh yeah, well, I didn't have to spend a night in that hotel this time.